Welcome to the Runout. I am Neil Barrett, and I am once again joined by Mr. Brandon Hooten. We have so much to get into this week. The NLL trade deadline has come and gone. The Championship Series crowned its champions, and we'll discuss the value of some wins in the NCAA. But Brandon, you were gone last week, so it's been a while. How has the last 2 weeks been, man?
Pretty good. Just busy as always. Trying to remember what I did the previous week. I don't know. I just shot a lot of lacrosse the last couple of weeks, pretty much, and not complaining, but it's a lot on top of work. And I did go to a card show 2 weeks ago. That was fun.
I remember you saying that.
Got some good stuff there. So, all is well, pretty much.
Nice. I feel like I had some updates, but I don't remember. Oh, I did think of one. I did the show alone last week, and I would like to not do that again. I mean, I will if I have to, and I probably should get a little bit better. I felt so out of practice. I felt so unprepared. I mean, I was unprepared. First of all, I did it at 1 a.m.
Well, that's your first problem.
Yeah, that was my first problem, and I had not adequately prepared. So I felt all over the place. I did want to say I had, hopefully he doesn't mind me outing him a little bit here. Will from ATX in the Lax Lifers Discord did message me on the side and was like, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know that I thought you did really good doing the show by yourself." And I don't believe him, but that's going to be my own thing. I really appreciated the message, but I was like, thanks. But also I feel like I did terrible. So thanks for anyone that tuned in, and anyone that missed it. You're fine. I don't blame you. So, with that being said, we normally start with the NLL because they're in the meat of their season right now. And I like to talk about, whatever is kind of the main thing going on. But I wanted to ask you about something else, and we'll go down a little bit of a path with that. So we'll start with the NCAA. And a little bit self-servingly, I'll start with Duke. They beat Air Force 21-6. And you were there. You were on the sidelines, and you have now seen, obviously, Denver several times. You've seen Cornell. You've seen, I don't even remember who else you've seen. You've seen a handful of teams. Obviously, you've seen Air Force. You've seen a handful of teams. I refrain from asking you when we would text back and forth what you thought of Duke seeing them up close.
They look like they do on TV. I think
Not
they shouldn't be playing Air Force. I don't think that's a good matchup.
They play Air Force every year, though. Usually in Durham. This is, I believe, the first time they've ever been to the academy. It's usually in Durham.
I'm not complaining. I like the fact that I get to see big time or big name, teams and schools come out here. It's much better. That this year we get Duke and Syracuse and Michigan, Cornell. But yeah, I don't know. I thought everyone was kind of as advertised, but again, it's also hard just because I don't think Air Force is a very good team this year. It was kind of just once they got going, it was just every single thing kind of fell for them. The fact that they had two guys shoot 10 plus shots on goal each, one of them had 15, is wild. Max Sloat, he only had 2 points in the game. I thought I heard his name more than that, so I was kind of surprised seeing that. But it just kind of got to a point where it was just this is not a fair matchup here. But it was still fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, and what was crazy to me was I don't think Duke played well at all. That they were so sloppy on stupid stuff, simple exchanges. It might have been, I know there was a point where you were on one side of the field and then you moved to the other side and everything, and it might have been in there. Did you see when Ben Johnston, like they made like 3, 4 quick passes in a row, and it ended up on in Ben Johnston's stick on the back side, and he pulls back to shoot, and the ball just falls out of his stick, and it was like,
Yeah.
what is for a while I thought we weren't going to get going. Like I was like, oh man. And I almost texted you and I was like, I almost want to get to the point where we start bringing in backups because they're going to be hungry. They're going to play this game like it should be played. I felt like so many of our kind of main guys kind of expected to just roll out and win, and they did basically do that. But I thought it looked like they thought that, but
Yeah, the first quarter wasn't the best lacrosse.
wasn't the
I
best.
can say
No,
that. After that,
yeah,
then it was like, all
yeah.
right. But
What's
um,
What's so funny to me is, like I said, I didn't think that they played well, but coming into the game, I thought this is a game. Air Force is not particularly good. This is a game that Duke should win, low 20s to under 5. They didn't quite keep it under 5, although uh, Patrick Jameson had that one just stupid goal. So I almost feel like I can count it. But did you see that goal?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to.
It was it was like the third or fourth goal the Air Force scored. The guy took the shot. I think it was down on that end that you were on. A guy took a shot and it hit the defender's stick
Oh yes,
and
yes, I did.
took like
Yes.
all the speed off of it. And Jameson like stepped like at that. And then I think he probably started looking up at where he was going to make the pass or whatever. And it clicked off his thumb and just like shot. It was like 20 miles an hour by the time it got. It was such a dumb thing to let in. But okay, I wanted to I wanted to get that out of the way because the next game to talk about was Penn State absolutely demolishing Cornell 19-7. And before we talk about that, I wanted to remind everyone of what it was that you said about watching Cornell play Denver when they were in Denver and you got to see them up close. And this is from two separate parts, so it feels a little funky. It's not one flow. Just for anyone who's listening, there's a cut, but you'll see. So,
Ding
uh,
ding ding, we got a winner.
yeah, I I feel like anyone who has watched Cornell play this year should probably understand that Cornell is not the powerhouse that they were last year. That doesn't mean that they won't figure it out and they won't get there, but they have some things that they're going to have to overcome uh, in order to get to that point. Um, they are amongst the teams. I feel like there's about 10 teams this year that could be ranked between 7 and 12. There's just so many teams that are clearly better than, you know, 13 through 20 and everyone else in the league, but aren't necessarily like bona fide, top end teams right now. Um, and Cornell feels like one. Uh, and then the other one was also lost this weekend, and that was Towson and UVA. This is another clip I was going to play. It's a little bit longer, so bear with me. I think I'll cut it off at some point because I think we get a little rambly. But All right, we don't have to keep. I think that's where it starts get rambly. To get rambly, they didn't give up 14 in this game. They lost 13-9. But again, still look like that same team that they looked like several weeks ago. And these are two teams that I think we have been talking about repeatedly over and over. And we talked a little bit about Richmond right there. Richmond did beat Georgetown this weekend 14-10. But my question, some people wanted to argue with me this weekend, is what is the value of beating Cornell, UVA, and Georgetown? I think the Georgetown win is, I'll give you some credit for that because I think they have been wildly inconsistent. And when they're on, they're very good. But when they're off, they're not very good at all. So I'll give you a little bit of credit there. But I think we're looking at two teams that may very well end up outside of the top 20 and a Cornell team that could end up somewhere between 12 and 15.
I mean, who are we talking about right now? We jumped around a lot there.
Yeah, we did. Okay. Ultimately, the question is about, I guess, Cornell, because a lot of people are crowning them. There are people that have them as the number one team in the country right now.
Cornell?
No, Richmond.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Did I say Cornell?
You did, and then I was like, if someone is putting them at number one, we got serious issues. Because goodness gracious. Okay, yes, Richmond. I'm with you now. Yes.
Okay.
So you're asking about what is the value of Richmond beating Virginia, Cornell, and Georgetown?
Yes.
Okay, I'm with you there. I don't know. I mean, I still think they're a very good team.
Yeah.
I just don't. This is where it gets dicey because like other teams have played tougher competition and lost by, a goal or two, and it's like, well, you play that top team pretty evenly, like versus again, I don't think Cornell's that good of a team, and Richmond beat them by 8-7. To me, that's a game that if you're really going to be a top two team or the top team in the nation, that should be a dominant win. Even Georgetown to a degree, they played Ohio State close. They beat Penn by 3. They lost to Notre Dame by 6. So do I think Richmond beating Georgetown is like a huge thing? Not necessarily. It's a good win, solid win by 4. Am I mad at anyone that has them at number 1? No, because I think they're playing very cohesive lacrosse right now. And that, I don't care who you play for the most part, unless you're playing true nobodies that you're beating by 20. Duke Air Force. But outside of that,
why is Duke catching strays over here?
Because you're the only one I know that likes Duke, so I have to throw it out there when I can. But yeah, I don't know. I'll accept arguments for them being 1 or 2, but
my thought is, I don't really care if you haven't won. Whatever, I don't care. There's an argument to be made for them. Sure, fine. My point has been, I don't think any of Richmond's wins right now prove that they're any good. Not any good, because somebody's going to come in and be like, you said they suck. No, they don't suck. They're a very good team. The question is, how good are they? Last year, they were a quarterfinal team. Is this team better than that? I'm not sure that they are, honestly. Do I right here, right now, based on what we have seen, I'd say they're a quarterfinal team. Again, the UVA win means basically nothing to me. They're already out of the top 20. UVA is. We talked about it two or 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, when those two teams played, and said that game said more about UVA than about Richmond. I agree with you that I don't think the Georgetown win says much. the Cornell win says a little bit, but again, I think Cornell is a 12 to 15 ranked team, not a top 5 team, which is what they were at this point. So when people are like, "Oh, Richmond's the best team in the nation," they might be, maybe. I don't think any of their games have proved that, though. So people want to come at me and say, this or that, and that I said Richmond sucks or whatever. I don't care. But I just feel like if I'm looking at these things right now, Notre Dame looks better. Syracuse, I'd put Syracuse up there. He's got doubts. What are you looking at now? Q's?
Yeah.
Oh, Princeton should be up there. Sorry, I didn't even talk about Princeton because their game wasn't a major game this weekend, so I didn't put Princeton on my list to talk about. But Princeton would be up there for me. Who has a better resume than Princeton right now?
Nobody.
Yeah,
just like we said. Just kidding.
Yeah, they have the one loss, just like we said. They have the one loss, but it's real. We talked about it then. It was really that first quarter. If they step on that field ready to play, that game, I don't know that they win it. We'll see. But so I mean, hell, at this point I think Harvard has a better resume. Harvard beat Syracuse. They're undefeated. In my mind, and this is going to get me in trouble. In my mind, Richmond and Duke are in the same position. Richmond is better. Don't get me wrong. They have played a higher level of competition than Duke has. But they're in the same boat in terms of, I don't really know how good they are. Again, Richmond is better because they have played some better competition. But competition, it's like this. What's the point of rankings? The idea is, the reason that we number them is that number 1 should beat number 2 should beat number 3, so on and so forth. That's the idea. I think within a few spaces, that might be up for debate. But the idea is that you are putting them in the order of, this is the best team, this is the second best team, and it should work that way. I recognize that's why we play the games. It doesn't always, but that's the idea. So if Richmond is the 3rd best team and they're playing the 12th best team, they should win that game, right? That's
in principle.
What we're saying. In principle. Like, that's the thought of why they're ranked that way, is because they should win that game. So then the question for me becomes, how good are they? If they're beating the teams that they should be beating, how good are they? And again, and so for me, in that sense, it's the same thing as Duke, of like, I don't know how good they are. I think Duke looks good. They have an average win of, they're averaging winning by 11 goals. Their defense is averaging giving up just over 7 goals a game. That puts them at the 3rd best. Obviously, they haven't played the toughest schedule, obviously.
Yet.
But those are the numbers. Yet, they do have a very tough
because
schedule.
Unlike Richmond, they do have some teams on the schedule later on that I recognize it doesn't affect rankings now and all that, but
right.
I just don't know if we're ever going to see, until the postseason, we're not going to get an answer on Richmond, in my opinion, necessarily, because there's always going to be the doubt of like, well, who did you play? Which is where, when we started the college season, I said the top 10 cares too much about who you've played, and the 11 through 20 doesn't care enough about who you've played. And this is where that comes into effect, I think, of like, even if they are a very cohesive team that I think is very good and can be a Final Four team, I'm still going to have the question mark kind of no matter what, unfortunately, because of their schedule.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the schedule, Delaware, win. UMass, they should win. Hobart, they should win. St. Bonaventure's, they should win. High Point, they should win. the two games that they have, St. Joe's is probably a win. That's one of those ones where like you're the third best team in the country, the second best, first best. Who knows where they'll be ranked by the time that game comes around. But let's assume that they are basically where they are now. They should beat that St. Joe's team that's in the bottom end of the top 20. The real test for them is going to be Notre Dame. But they could lose that game and you'd say, okay, they're not as good as Notre Dame. You know, say it's what it was against Ohio State. Say it's a 9-8 game. Okay, they're not as good as Notre Dame. Hell, say they lose by 4. Say it's a 12-8 game to Notre Dame. What do we learn about Richmond there? That they're not as good as Notre Dame. Okay, cool. Got it. Then the whole rest of their schedule shows us not much of anything. So I don't know. I'm struggling with Richmond and where to put them because I like you have said, I think they are a good team. I think they are a very what's the word you keep using? Not organized.
Cohesive.
Yes, I think they're a very cohesive. Word, yeah, I think it's a great word for them, and I think Dan Chamati is a great coach. And I have said on multiple occasions that in the next however long, when John Danowski leaves, I would love to have Dan Chamati come back to Duke. That'd be great for me. Like, it's not hate on Richmond. I just legitimately don't know where this team is. And Dukes got into it with me. He was like, you're using the transitive property. I'm not. And I'm like, I'm not saying that they're a bad team because they beat bad teams. I'm saying I don't know how good they are. I don't know how this team measures up. And like you have said, I don't know that we're going to know too much until probably we get into the NCAA tournament because they should win their conference. They should win, like we just listed, 8 of the 9 games they have left, or however much it is, 7 of the 8 games or whatever it is that they have left. Whereas then you look at a team like Duke and you see that they have Denver, Syracuse, Virginia, Cornell, Notre Dame, and North Carolina. That's how they finish their season. Those are all successive games right there. We're gonna, by the end of that season, we're gonna know a lot about how good this Duke team is, or isn't. So, anyway, another. We did briefly mention Notre Dame beat Ohio State 9-8. Ohio State's first real challenge. It looked pretty good. It's still a little early, but it looked pretty good. Army, on the other hand, that's what we
wanted to see, though. So we'll take that loss.
Yeah. I mean, they can certainly still. Notre Dame is the number 1 team in the country right now. They could certainly still be a Final Four team. Whatever. They were actually leading, if I remember correctly from tracking that. It was on Big Ten Network or something, so I didn't watch it. But if I remember correctly, they were up late in the fourth quarter, and then Notre Dame scored a couple to take the lead and win the game. And the other team that I had in with Duke last week when you weren't here was I had Duke, Ohio State, and Army as all in the same boat of having not really played anyone. Undefeated, hadn't really played anyone yet. And then Army went out and lost as well, 10-9 to Lafayette. I would say that is 1 foot in the grave for their season. They basically are going to have to win the Patriot League, I think, to make the NCAA tournament now. They just don't have the games in their schedule to garner an at-large bid. Yeah. I mean, they got North Carolina. That could help if they beat North Carolina. Even the Boston game this weekend could help, but yeah. Syracuse beat Hopkins 12-8 this weekend. That was a fun game, even though Hopkins was not really in it very much at all. And then Oh, that's actually it. Because the Richmond game we already talked about. So, pretty good weekend of NCAA lacrosse. There are a crap ton of games this weekend. Princeton plays Yale, start of the Ivy League. Uh, Yale's not been great this season, but start of the Ivy is always going to be a little bit tough. Who else we got here? Virginia plays Maryland. That could be interesting. I would like to see what Maryland does against a team that's decent. We know UVA is not in the top 20, and they certainly have problems on the defensive end, but Maryland has had a lot of problems too. So that game could get really interesting. And then probably the big one of the weekend is North Carolina at Penn State. Not at Penn State. It's actually in Charlotte. So that's pretty cool. But that is one of the big ones. And then your boys play Syracuse.
Yeah, Monday night.
You shooting that one?
Yeah, and actually, I need to get my credentials. That's a good reminder right there.
Man,
but yeah, should be there.
talking about the value of a win, that Denver win might look very different for Cornell in about 16 days. Because in the next 16 days, Denver plays Ohio State, Syracuse, Duke, and Georgetown. They could go from being 4-1 to 4-5 pretty easily in just over 2 weeks. Oh, excuse me. That was gross. Terrible at this. All right, let's now move over to the NLO. Not a huge weekend for games, only 5 games this weekend, but I think you said during the conversation pre-show that all of the favorites lost. So
yeah, I didn't pay attention like the actual betting favorites, so like 2 of them may not have actually been favorites, but at least off the top of the head, I think they all lost.
Yeah, I think the only one that might be iffy there was Vegas Halifax. Like is Vegas and maybe I guess Oshawa and Philly.
Yeah.
Which one of those was better, but at best those are probably toss-ups.
Yeah.
So Vancouver did not beat. Toronto beat Vancouver 13-10 and probably, I don't know, would you say that was a bigger upset than Ottawa beating Calgary, Colorado? Jeez, my brain. Ottawa beating Colorado 10-5.
It's probably about the same, if I'm being honest. I think the bigger thing in this one was just that they went scoreless in the 4th and still won by 3. That's more surprising.
You're talking about Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I view Toronto and Ottawa in very similar lights, and I view Vancouver and Colorado in very similar lights. So that's why I am hesitant to be like, yeah, this is way bigger or smaller. I think it was just a bad night for a couple of those teams. And then, when you have an opportunity like Toronto and Ottawa have to really sneak up the standings, like that's you got to squeeze out these ones against the better teams. And Toronto, I mean, going up 6-2, when I turned that game on, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, first pick of the week, I was like, yeah, I might lose this one. And then they just kept going. And, honestly, it was just an uncharacteristically bad night for Delbs. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
like
it was rough.
It's one of those things you can't be mad about it because it's like this is not who he is. It's not indicative of what his season's been. So, it's tough. I thought it was interesting that there was no penalties in this game at all. So I don't know if they were just letting the boys truly play or if they were just the cleanest game of lacrosse. I don't think I've ever seen a game of lacrosse where there wasn't a penalty. So I'm going to go with the former and just that they decided to not call anything. But
I got to say, I didn't watch every single second of this game, but I did watch most of it. I didn't really see anything that I thought was a penalty. Brad in the Lax Lifers Club can correct us if he feels like he saw anything. I don't really remember seeing anything that I thought was questionable or anything. There was nothing really that I remember seeing. But yeah, like you said, this game was a in many ways was kind of an outlier, an abnormal game. Toronto was up 10-3 at half, and it felt like they just in the second half they just kind of took their foot off the gas. Vancouver did some work to get back into it as well. I don't want to say they didn't, but in a lot of ways, I thought 13-10 kind of flattered them, even if, like you said, it was an abnormal game, and it's not something they could play this game 100 times and not do what they did that night. But like you said, Toronto finding a way to win this game that we all expected to be a loss for them, and in the middle of this run, they've now beat Colorado and Vancouver, which were admittedly they also lost to Colorado and to the Bandits. But we thought there was a situation where you looked at that schedule and thought, okay, that's four losses in a row. Four losses in a row. So to come out of it 2-2, that's a win for Toronto in my mind. But we'll see what they can do. They have Halifax next, and then Saskatchewan's going to be another tough game. Although the way Saskatchewan's playing right now, maybe it won't be. So, like we said, the next game was Las Vegas and Halifax. Halifax did win 13-11. That puts them on a 2-game win streak. The first win streak they've had since the first 2 weeks of the season, which is good for Ottawa, I guess. I'm not really a Ottawa fan on this show, but it's good for them. And they now sit in 10th place. What's that? Game back? Yeah, game back from San Diego in the 8th spot. So they made some moves, which we'll get into some of the trade deadline stuff that maybe helped them. Maybe not. I don't know. But they're ahead of the Desert Dogs right now, so that I guess is helpful. And then I'll let you go on the Colorado Ottawa game.
It was like the best bad game you could have if you're Colorado. Like, it was just shots weren't falling. Defense was great all night long. Dylan Ward gave up 9 goals. I don't know what else you can ask for from them. It was just one of those, like, Zach Hagen's just played out outstanding, in my opinion. It was one of those where, like, when they finally got a goal and it rolled across the goal line, well, Malcolm's already in the crease, so it gets called back. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much to say. 2 goal scorers, and one of them had 4 of them. So I asked Coach after the game if he would like to see Jack Hanna and Will Malcolm be more aggressive because they had 10 shots on goal between the two of them. Didn't really get a straight answer out of him. He basically just said what I just said about shots weren't falling, which is true. Zach Higgins was good, but to me, it's like towards the end of the game, I want those guys taking more shots personally. I think Dylan McIntosh had 9 in this game. I'd like to see more. Jeff Teat, if you just watch the first 85% of the game, quiet as a mouse, and then all of a sudden something happened where it was just like, here you go, here's a bunch of goals you can have. So don't know what happened there. But again, am I surprised Ottawa won a game like this? Not at all, because this is like who they are. Is they lose to bad teams and they beat the good ones. I don't really understand how that works for them, but it is. I was gonna say something else too, and I can't. Jack Hanna gets called for a major penalty in the offensive zone for cross-checking a guy in the back. Somehow that's a 5-minute, but if you cross-check a guy in the back of the head or neck, that's only a 2-minute. So just so everyone's clear in the NLL, that's the ruling. You're allowed to cross-check in the back of the head and only get a minor, just so we're clear. Wanted to make sure we get that on record, since apparently that's legal now. Or it's illegal, but not as bad as in the back. So just want to put that out there.
He's just so angry. I like it, though. It's fun.
Yeah, I don't... Again, this isn't just a Mammoth thing. This is like a sports thing. I don't understand how the more dangerous play is ruled a lesser penalty. I don't understand that. When the guy's on the ground and he's getting cross-checked in the back of the head, how is that a 2-minute? But Oh, we got pushed in the back, so it's a 5-minute. What are we doing here? I don't understand that.
Does anything worry you about losing 2 of the last 3?
Not really, because you got to 9 wins.
All right.
You also lost to 2 playoff teams. And you killed one of them the week before.
Yeah.
You've won 9 of 13. So I'm not, I mean, that's. And you had everything else go your way on the weekend. Van lost. I guess you could say Ottawa winning isn't going your way, obviously, but Van lost, which helps. Georgia didn't play yet, so you're still technically a game ahead of them. Saskatchewan, I don't think played, if I'm not mistaken.
They did not.
And who else lost? Rochester lost, which technically doesn't matter now, I guess, but I guess technically it would still be good for clinching, kind of. Because that puts them, just on the bubble outside, I think, by a game. So.
Who, Rochester?
Yeah.
Rochester is half a game out of the playoffs.
Yeah. So that still is good because it just makes it a little bit tougher for there to be
that
some
being
playoff.
That being said, they've only played 11 games. You know, the Mammoth have played 13. The Seals have only played 12, so they technically have a game in hand against the Seals, and they're only half a game back. So if they won it, they'd be tied. I don't know what the first tiebreaker is. Is it head to head or is it going to be?
I feel like I remember someone saying last year it was goal differential, and I argued it should be head to head, but maybe that's backwards. I'm not totally sure.
If it's goal differential, and the Rochester Nighthawks win their game in hand, they would need to win it by. If they won it by 3, they would be tied on goal differential. It would go to the second tiebreak. If they won it by 4, they would move ahead. If goal differential is the first tiebreaker. Again,
I think it's head to head. I think it's head to head first, and then it's tiebreaker. Which is why I'm also not. I'm not going to be worried even if we lose this week to Buffalo, because that's another game that it's a trap game. Buffalo's surging. They just got Joey Rez. If we lose, who do we play the next week? Vegas at home. Then I'll be worried because that'll be 9-6. I want to say. But even so, you got to think about we were 8-10 last year, so there's very little this year already. Now it's gonna worry me per se because the rest of the way we play playoff teams outside of Vegas.
My question about being worried is less about making a playoff spot or whatever, and more about the momentum heading into the playoffs. And like you said, this is 2 playoff teams. Who are you going to play in the playoffs? One of these teams, more than likely. Maybe not one of these teams specifically, but you're going to. But
by that point, we'll be much healthier than we were this week as well, and the week prior. Thomas Vela was out of this game out of last minute. Don't know why. That's a huge loss for the offense. Owen Downs still has been out. That's a huge loss for the defense. We got Connor Cook back, but when we were winning, we were mostly healthy. So I'm that's why I'm not, and I also don't think that a guy like Jack Hanna is going to go another game and only have 3 assists because I think he's going to force the issue. He's going to have to. That's just what it is. Obviously, I would like them to get. I said on Tuss Talk, I want them to get to 13 wins to feel 100% comfortable, but 12 would be cool. Just because I don't really know if we're going to be able to overtake Sask, unless Sask also slides, which we just saw them lose to Buffalo, so maybe that is coming. You know what I mean? That's the other thing that makes me not worried is they just lost to Buffalo, who we go play this week in their barn. So it's to me, finish top 3 and you're fine. Because at that point, you still have a home game.
I mean, Buffalo ain't Buffalo, but we'll get to that later.
Well, they were
Calgary,
against Sask.
Right, but my point is, I think they made some moves that made them better. But again, we'll get to those. uh, Calgary beat Rochester 14-7. This game was over early. The game-winning goal was scored in the middle of the second quarter. So, another one of those games where, Calgary was up 11-3, and the final was 14-7. So, uh, another team though. Oh, they didn't make moves. But they did make a move, right?
Who?
Oh
They
yeah,
both traded for/away somebody.
Who they trade away?
Rochester got Blaze. Calgary
Right,
traded Tyler Hendricks.
Oh, my bad. I was talking about. Okay, yeah. Now I get your question. I was talking about Rochester. I was thinking.
Yeah,
I was
they
like,
got
they
Blaze.
traded for somebody, right? Yeah, they got Blaze. Do you think that changes their fortunes?
No, their new coach might, but
that was interesting. They've fired their head coach after this game.
insane overreaction, by the way.
It's interesting because I both think it's an overreaction, and also I'm like, I mean, you're 5-6. It hasn't been a very good season. I mean, at the beginning of the season, you had them as an NLL championship team. I don't remember if you had them winning.
No, I didn't even have them going to the finals. I just had them as a contender.
Like a contender. Who did you have?
And they were for about 4 weeks. I
4
had
weeks.
Vancouver over Buffalo, I believe.
Wow. Okay. I think you're right, actually. And I might have had the same thing. But either way, I would agree that, like I said, that it's an overreaction, but also I kind of get it. I think the timing was the overreaction. That's the part I didn't really like. But ultimately the move I thought makes sense, especially when they got Randy I can never say his last name. Mearns.
One of the two.
One of the, I think I said three, but one of them. He's a great coach, and I was interested. They only gave him the interim tag, which gave me some Michael Carrick Manchester United vibes, but we'll see what they do there. And then the last game of the weekend was Oshawa beating Philadelphia 13-12. Anything to say about that game?
Nope, Philly should have won. Very disappointed in them.
And then that is, I guess, a good segue into the trade deadline, because they just went full, fire sale on their roster. They traded Phil Caputo, Joe Resiteritz, and Blaze Reardon. They brought in Travis Longboat from Ottawa. Totally blanked on that. And then Lucas Nielsen from the Buffalo Bandits, which I don't know a ton about Travis Longboat. I know the name. I know I've heard his name a lot. My understanding is that Lucas Nielsen was a pretty good prospect. So those could be some good long-term moves. But you and I were talking in a group chat, last week after the Philadelphia game, and no, they traded someone last week, didn't they? I don't remember. Either way, you and I were talking, and I asked if Philly had punted on the season, and you were like, not yet. And then today, after they made all those trades, I said, can we say that Philly punted on the season now, and you were like, yes, now they have officially punted on the season. Uh,
Yeah, I
that
don't remember what the first one was, but I didn't feel
I don't
like it
remember
was like
either.
bad. It was something they did that I was just like, maybe. But
Yeah,
then it was like
yeah,
1, 2, 3. I was like, all right, now, yep, one, two,
yep.
three, Cancun.
Now they have
You
punted.
know,
Let's before we go any farther on the trade deadline, I'll run through all of the trades here. Obviously, we just mentioned Lucas Nielsen moving from Buffalo to Philadelphia. Tyler Hendricks was traded from Calgary to Buffalo. Tyson Bell moved from Halifax to Las Vegas. Josh Jackson went from Vegas to Toronto. Justin Sykes went from Vegas to Ontario. Casey
Ottawa.
Wilson went from shit. Yes.
I mean, yes, Ontario, but Ottawa.
Yes. Ottawa. Casey Wilson went from Las Vegas to Halifax. Zachary Young went from Oshawa to Las Vegas. Travis Longboat went from Ottawa to Philadelphia. Phil Caputo went from Philly to Ottawa. Joe Resetaritz, Philly to Buffalo. And Blaze Reardon from Philly to Rochester. Those were all of the moves that happened today. What else in here is good or surprising to you?
The only surprising one that I think is truly surprising was just Tyson Bell going somewhere. But from what I understand, that could potentially be a rental. I don't have confirmation on that. So if someone else comes out and says, no, this is not, like, that's fine. I'm not saying verbatim, this is what I was told. It's just, based on the draft picks that were kind of sent out, it seems like could be. I expected Resetaritz to be moved to Buffalo, so that made sense. Blaze, I heard, was more of a life thing for Philly, or for Blaze, excuse me, where Philly was just kind of like, hey, you live up there, you have a baby on the way. We're obviously not going to win very much. Like, go have a better chance with them. Phil Caputo, I guess I could say was a surprise, but
yeah,
and most of these were just kind of like quality of life changes, I think, just for, some depth for certain teams. Lucas Nielsen, again, like you said, I think he's a very well respected kind of young guy with Buffalo. So that was, I know you have to give something up to get something, but that was kind of, I guess, a shock. But Casey Wilson hopefully is going to play in a couple weeks here, from what I understand, which is going to be good. I know he's living in Halifax, so just he kind of made it clear that he wasn't going to play in Vegas. So I hope that comes to fruition. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, nothing crazy. Better. I don't remember what the deadline was like last year, but I did enjoy it. It was fun following the breadcrumbs and hearing different things, and so
two things. One, the Joe Resetaritz trade was one that I think had been rumored for a little while, but the thing that seemed to catch everyone off guard was that it was right as it was finally like, okay, this trade isn't going to happen, that then suddenly it happened. So in that sense, it was a bit of a shock, but the move itself, like I said, had been talked about for a while. And then to your last point there about kind of enjoying the trade deadline this year, I know our friends at Loose Mesh were doing like a live show throughout the day. I think you tuned into it a bit. To be completely honest, I was at work and I couldn't watch it. And so I actually forgot that it was even going on. And I don't know whether it was from them or what, but you were like messaging us in our group chat of being like, oh, here's the trade and stuff. And I just thought like, oh, Brandon's got some inside information. And then in another group chat, someone was talking about how Loose Mesh was talking about one of the trades that you had just messaged us. And I was like, this dude's been listening to their show. And so I was like, are you kidding me? But then, but I saw several people online talking about how great the show had been and how like much more fun it had made the whole trade deadline experience. And so one, I hope they continue that. And then two, I would love we talk about it in the PLL all the time. Oh, they need a halftime show. Oh, they need, this or that. And it's like, it reminded me a lot of one of the reasons I even started doing content was because my old college roommate was like, I was talking to him one day about how I wanted to see someone do gear reviews that I like, the kind that I liked. That I was a big gearhead in like soccer and other sports and stuff. And these people would do these like cool, fun, where it wasn't just like a guy sitting in front of a camera, like holding the shoe and being like, it would have like really cool B-roll and stuff. And I was complaining to him one day and was like, I wish someone would do that for lacrosse. And he's like, why don't you do it? I was like, oh, like it had never occurred to me. And so that's how I started making YouTube videos and podcasting and stuff. Was because no one else was doing it. And I was like, okay, cool. So all of that to say, I hope that Loose Mesh maybe sets a trend for people and we can start making the content that we all want to see. If we want a halftime show, let's make a halftime show, like that'd be fun. Trade deadline shows, that's fun. All kinds of the one thing I'll say is it helped that this was a relatively active trade deadline. In previous years, it might not have been as fun of a show. So, anyway, that kind of sets the mood heading into maybe this week. I don't know how many of these guys will immediately take the floor for their new team. Some of them almost definitely will, but maybe not all of them as we head into week 16 of the NLL season. As always, I'm going to run through these really quick and then we'll talk about them. Toronto plays Halifax, Philadelphia plays Oshawa, Colorado plays Buffalo, Vancouver plays Georgia, Ottawa plays Calgary, San Diego plays Saskatchewan, and Rochester plays Las Vegas. That is a full weekend of games. Everybody is playing for the first time in, a handful of weeks, as far as I'm aware. Actually, no, I guess 2 weeks ago they didn't they? Because that was the one where like 10 teams play, or there were 10 games, I mean.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, we got the trades. That's the games. What are we looking at?
Lots of the same stuff, I think. Yeah, I don't know. This is a pretty big week with just question marks all over it. I don't really know. We'll see what happens with Georgia Van.
Yeah.
For Colorado's sake, I think you kind of need. It doesn't really matter. I guess you kind of need Vancouver to win, but you also need to win at the same time. If San Diego can find a way to escape Saskatchewan with a win, that'd be good for their playoff hopes.
Which they did earlier, right? Didn't they?
I think they lost. They lost in San Diego. They started off really well, but
who am I thinking of that beat?
I don't know.
It must have been Ottawa in week 2.
Yeah, but we get back or the second of a back to back between Oshawa and Philly. Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple good ones, a couple that I'm just like, eh. Rochester and Vegas, I guess, could be kind of fun, but they both need that win pretty badly.
Yeah, I think Rochester's one where, you're going to have a new head coach sitting on the bench. Like, I'm interested to see, even though it's unlikely to be kind of the final product of what having that new head coach on the bench will be. I'm interested to see what that does. But like you said, it's games like that where it's like, maybe there's something there. Philly Oshawa could be. At this point, Philly Oshawa's going to be a game that it's almost one of those like sicko games. Like you're watching this because you just need lacrosse in your vein, or you live in Philly and Oshawa. Like that's why. Colorado Buffalo, I think is going to be great to watch, especially. I think Colorado wants to win it. Obviously, everybody wants to win every game, but like you said, you got Vancouver and Georgia playing each other. If Vancouver wins, like you have an opportunity to create some space there between you and Georgia and give yourself a little bit of breathing room. So, and if Georgia wins and you win, you got an opportunity to maybe move up. So that's going to be interesting. But also, I want to see what, you know, this Bandits team that looks to have improved already, and then is going to add Joe Terrets to the team, is going to look like. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. I think I'm trying
Yeah,
to think
just
if I can
those
get.
middle two games, I think, for the most part.
I'm trying to think if I can get excited, like you said, for the San Diego Saskatchewan game.
I think that's going to be a really good game. Everyone should watch. I think that's going to be a great matchup. We've seen San Diego kind of fold to Saskatchewan already once this year at home. So that's where it's like, then again, it's lacrosse. Anything can happen. And again, San Diego could help out literally the top three teams. Not the top three. The second through fourth teams right now with a win over Saskatchewan, because all of us, and this is where like the standings get so like crazy, is like Colorado wins, that puts them 10-4. Let's say Vancouver wins, that puts them 10-4. Well, now those teams have a little bit of space between them and Georgia. Saskatchewan loses, they're 10-4. So now you have three teams tied for first, essentially. I know there's tiebreakers, but let's just say record-wise, you're tied for first. And then later in the year, you still have Colorado playing Saskatchewan at some point. I don't know if Sask plays Vancouver again. I don't think they do. But
they don't play Vancouver again.
But like this week alone could have some pretty big implications. And vice versa. If Colorado loses and Georgia wins, now those two are tied record-wise. And actually, them and Vancouver are tied. So, like, that's the other reason, back to our conversation earlier about why I'm not too worried about the Mammoth, even if they lose this game, is because there's so many other teams that also are in the same exact boat. That's like, this could get very muddy waters, like, very, very quickly.
I agree with you. I think a lot of these games could be good, fun games to watch. When I usually say there's nothing for me, it's usually from kind of like an overarching story of the season kind of argument. Like, Philly Oshawa could be a great game. It's just not going to do much in terms of like the NLL standings. That being said, I did think of, while you were talking, an angle in this San Diego Saskatchewan game, and that is the I can't talk today. Saskatchewan has lost 2 straight, and I wouldn't expect them to lose to the Seals, but if this is an NLL season where it feels like every single time that you think you have something figured out, the exact opposite happens. So while I wouldn't expect them to beat San Diego, if they do, Saskatchewan loses 3 straight. Like you said, there's a potential for 3 teams, right? Because 4th is Georgia, so they would lose. So a 3-team tie at the top of the league, again, at least standing wise. And like you said, they would play the Mammoth again later this year. You know, Vancouver's got some games down the line. Like it could, if San Diego can pull that off, it could completely throw this whole season out of whack. So certainly things to watch in all of these games. And again, to your point, Rochester Vegas could be a great game on the floor. I just don't know that it's going to have too much to do. Oh, my mouse is jacking up with the standings.
It only is if Rochester wins, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if they lose, now granted, they'll be 5-7 if they lose. That's still 6 more games to go. Could they absolutely turn around? Yes. I'm not saying they can't. But like, I do think there's a big difference in being 6-6 with 6 games to go and 5-7 with 6 games to go. And if you win, you're essentially pushing Vegas even further down, which would be very helpful.
Yes, you're pushing Vegas farther down, but you're also 6-6, which would tie you currently, although the Seals would play this weekend too, with San Diego in eighth. And technically, if San Diego lost that Saskatchewan game, you could potentially leapfrog them into eighth place. So, so yeah, I mean, there's some storylines, I guess, even where I'm not necessarily thinking about them. I for some reason every time I see Rochester, I think they're so much farther outside of the playoff picture than they are. Even though I literally did a TikTok this weekend about how their game with Calgary was really important because they were sitting right there on the bubble, and I just completely am forgetting about them. So. Anyway, with all that being said, let's shift gears over to, I guess we want to call it the field game. Sixes. The championship series. It is on a field. Is turf count?
Another indoor field.
I was going to say.
So are they on the floor?
Right. Like, what's the difference between what they're playing on and an NLL? The walls. That's about it, you know?
Yeah.
But we wrapped up the championship series this weekend. In the PLL, the Chaos won. They beat the Redwoods 24-16 in the championship game. The Golden Stick was won by Shane Knobloch, who finished with 30 scoring points. Unfortunately, I don't remember. I thought I wrote it down. I literally thought I did it in the episode. I don't remember Brandon's picks, and he doesn't really remember them either. It's been long 2 weeks. I will say, PLL genius. I did pick the Carolina Chaos.
Did you now?
I did. I really did. Now, I had the wrong Carolina Chaos member winning the Golden Stick. I picked Jackson Eicher. And I had, well, we'll get into that in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I picked Jackson Eicher, who was very good but missed a game, which I don't even know why. My guess would be military commitment, that he couldn't get out because they started games on Thursday in week 1, and that's the game he missed. So that would be my guess. No confirmation on that, but anyway. I know you were shooting lacrosse, and I don't know that you got to watch a crap ton of this, but any thoughts on the PLL Championship Series? Oh, he lost his headphones. He does too many podcasts. He does too many podcasts and has just been ripping through the battery on his headphones. I'm just vamping over here. He has no idea. He's literally having to connect his headphones to his laptop. Oh, I see there's a chat here. Headphones died. Keep talking. I'm vamping. Just keeping it going. You're muted too, so I can't hear you.
I know. We're just going to run this off my MacBook speakers here because I can't get these other headphones to connect. So I knew this was going to happen at some point too. I haven't charged them in weeks, and here we are. So
I don't know if you could hear me that whole time, but
no.
Oh, we gotta do the echo. Oh, I can't be changed while recording.
All right, then hold on. I'm gonna mute. You keep talking about whatever you're talking about, and I'll get this figured out. Hold on.
All right. So, while he's vamping, or while he's preparing, I'll just keep chatting over here. Yeah, the Chaos were great. The Redwoods were great. Ironically, these were the two teams I thought had the best chance at winning. And I even said I thought the Redwoods were a better team, but that. Oh, are you back now?
I'm back.
Oh, okay, I hear you. I saw you nodding. I was like, oh, I think he can hear me. So okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so I did think that these were the two best teams, at least on paper, and that I thought the Redwoods were the better team, and I still think that kind of bore itself out. They were the number 1 overall seed and got the bye. I'm interested on your thoughts on the schedule, both in terms of splitting it into 2 weeks And then the idea of the team that finishes first getting a bye, the team that gets of the 4 tournaments, so the 2 WLL and the 2 PLL tournaments that they have done this structure, the only number 1 seed that got the bye and won was the Boston Guard last year. So especially because you weren't here last week, I'm also including the splitting it into 2 weeks. I talked about it a little bit last week, but I wondered your thoughts on that. But yeah, what's your thoughts kind of on the schedule of the championship series?
I would have preferred it to be one weekend from a fan's perspective and that sort of thing. I know a lot of people couldn't really go because of that situation.
Mhm.
I think it's great for like the players to have that time off because it is, I think, a little bit, especially like goalies, you're seeing a lot more shots. So that, I'm sure it's nice to kind of have some days off and whatnot. But it was also just tough because you kind of forget what happened the previous weekend, and you're trying to like get back into it of like, especially when you're already in a season of like college, NLL, and now, oh yeah, here's the other thing too that, wait, so who's in it, who's out,
Yep.
So I would have preferred it to be one weekend, but I'm not opposed to the 2. I think the scheduling that first weekend was a little bit iffy, just with I think it was the Outlaws, was it? And maybe the Chaos did too, where they played back-to-back days like super fast. I feel like someone was mentioning to me.
So what happened was they had one game Thursday. Is that right? I don't remember
Friday.
the exact days. Let's take the days out. They had one game on one day. Then the next game, and this was for both leagues, so technically it was 2 games, but one PLL game, one WLL game, then 2 where all 4 teams played, and then the 2 teams that didn't play the first day played the third day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I guess is what you're saying. And yeah, I thought that was really weird too, because again, of the 4 teams that played Friday night games, only the New York Atlas won their game on Saturday. They're the only ones, which was weird because they lost the first one. And I thought across the board, like even though the New York Atlas were able to overcome it, I thought across the board you could tell watching those 4 teams that they had played the day before and the other team was fresh. So yeah, I thought that was weird too. I would have much rather seen them flip-flop where like both PLL teams or all 4 PLL teams played Friday night. I think you might have to add a day into the schedule some way. And like you said, I think for the oh yeah, so they flip-flop. But then like you said, I thought as a fan it was so much harder to follow, but also like I felt like we built over the course of those first 3 days, and it was starting to like people were starting to talk about it and everything, and then it died, and you just pulled the rug out from everyone, and then it had to rebuild through the weekend and stuff, as opposed to the previous years where it was 1 week and it's the only major lacrosse on during the week. And everyone was kind of watching. It was kind of more of a communal shared experience. So I don't know. I thought
I will say I don't like it being played during the week though either. So I don't know that there's any good way of doing this because
why?
I can't watch.
Why not?
I think a lot of people, because if it's during the week, most people are at work.
It was at night. What they were doing was playing like 7 and 9. Which
that's better.
Admittedly, 7 o'clock isn't amazing for you.
It's really great for Eastern time, people, which is where it's played. So I recognize that. But when we're talking about growing the sport, I don't really think the Eastern people need the help there. I think that's more of the other time zones that then can't really, like if you start a game at 5 p.m. my time, I miss 75% of it driving home from work.
I will tell you this. I was listening to Mike. Oh, it was Mike Rabel on Mitchell Pelkey's podcast. I was like, the only one I could think of was he was on OTB, and I was like, but wait, I haven't caught that one yet, so it wasn't that. Mike Rabel on It's on my list. Don't worry. It's not. I'm not. I'm not.
It's a good one.
Not
It's a good
ignoring.
one.
I have no doubt. And honestly, I would have liked to listen to it today. Uh, for some reason, there was like a clip or something that MPLS posted, and rather than listening to OTB, I was like, I'm gonna check this one out. Um, so I did that. OTB is still on my list, but he talked in on that episode about two things that you've just kind of mentioned. One, whether or not they're going to go back to a week. The way he said it almost sounded like they're leaning more that way. It was almost like they were slightly disappointed in the way that the 2 weekends had worked. And I think they didn't have none of the championship series was on linear television this year. And I believe that's the first time that's ever happened. I believe they've always had, at least the championship game or something was on linear television, but they didn't have anything on it. And the 2 weekend split meant that they pushed that this final weekend was during the same time as a lot of basketball conference championships. So ESPN was kind of loaded up with those. So I think that might have something to do with it. But so overall, he mentioned that as one. And two, he mentioned, and this is the first time I've heard them mention this, was the idea of not playing at the St. James next year or, in the future, and looking at other venues and trying to find venues that they could hold it in. And I wouldn't be surprised if you end up doing it somewhere out west, because like specifically my thought is California, because it is a February tournament. So even in a lot of like southern states, if you go to Florida, maybe not, but a lot of southern states, you're still going to have a lot of cold weather, maybe some snow, stuff like that you're going to have to deal with unless you put it indoors. But indoor facilities that are that big that can handle this kind of event, they're not a million of them. So those were two things that I found really interesting going to your point. Let's talk about the WLL real quick, and then we'll talk about some other things real quick. The WLL, the New York Charging beat the California Palms 18-11. The Golden Stick was won by Charlotte North. She ended with, off the top of my head, I think it was 22 scoring points. I don't know why I didn't write that down this time. What's crazy to me is in the entire history of the championship series, PLL, WLL, anything in between, Charlotte North is the only Golden Stick winner who did not play in the championship game. She played one less game than everyone else, not everyone else in the league, but a lot of the contemporaries, and won not just by one, she won by 3. She had 3 more points than anyone else. So an insane tournament from her. The thing I wanted to mention was, we talked when you were on the show a couple weeks ago about naming a TRO MVP. And again, don't remember who you picked for those things. I went with Miles Jones and Taylor Moreno. I think I can safely say, even though I thought both were good, I think I can safely say they are not the ones that we are going to give our certificate of appreciation to. But I wondered if you and I could come to an agreement on who it would be.
Austin Cow.
Austin Cow, 100%. 100%.
I don't remember who I put for the men's, I know I think I put Sydney Black as my Golden Stick winner.
She was one, and now that you say that, I remember you bringing her up. I think it was Golden Stick.
Oh, I said Logan McNaney as MVP because if the Outlaws were going to be good with that roster, it was going to be because of him.
Look at you.
But I don't remember who I put for my Golden Stick, though. I don't.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I feel like I took someone kind of off the wall, but I don't remember now. But I know for a fact it was those two.
Well, I won't worry about it. Yeah, and you're right. I do remember you saying Logan McNaney. And to be fair, like we talked about pre-show, in order for the Outlaws to win, he did need to be good. He just wasn't as good as they needed him to be. So, What about on the WLL side? Do you have one?
Hmm.
I feel like there's a couple of answers that aren't necessarily wrong, but I have one that I think is more right.
Go ahead then.
Similar to Austin Cow, Madison Doucette. She led in saves, save percentage, and scores against average. All three categories that they kind of keep stats for goalies, and she led in all three of them. She had, again, trying to remember this off the top of my head, 16 saves for a 59.1 save percentage in the championship game. Just incredible. And as far as I'm concerned, the Charging don't win without her. I think Izzy Skane is another one that you could say, and I'm not going to argue against Izzy Skane at all. I would love to have seen some more. I think they got really good defensive play from their team. I just don't feel like there was any one person that stood out throughout the whole tournament. Katie Goodale was one that I thought really stood out in the championship game, but I didn't notice her beforehand, so it's tough for me to put that up. Back on the PLL side, I thought Miles was very good. He's the only player that finished in double-digit assists. I thought Kyle Jackson was very good. Weirdly enough, did he play for the Wings this weekend, or did he just go home?
Yep.
He did play for the Wings this weekend? That's so funny. Because I remember we talked about it when the whole thing was announced that he was going to be doing the championship series. We talked about how, like, if their weekend ended early, that he would go join up with them, and I totally forgot about the fact that their weekend ended early and he was going to have an opportunity to go play with them. So, but yeah, I think that was good. Do you think either of these are going to carry over into the season? Not so much, the Chaos won, so they're going to be the favorites for the title, but like, how much, if anything, does this carry over?
0.
0.
Yep.
Sorry, my mic fell. I pushed it. The only thing I thought was, Scott Brooks got to be around his team for the first time. He got to
his team.
I think. Well, to be fair to him, that was a good amount of his team.
There were some of his team there. Yeah.
I mean, who's he missing? Owen and Blaze.
I mean, that's a pretty big piece right there.
Sure.
Did Silstrop play? Do we know?
I don't think so, but I mean, if we're talking about big pieces.
Did Cross wasn't there?
Yeah, I don't know where.
Who else was there?
What? Although, again, I'm not sure big piece.
Again, look at previous years too. How great was Boston this past PLL season? So 0. I don't care what happened here. The only benefit was that they got to be around some of their teammates, in the off season per se. But
that's what I'm saying about Steven. Did I call him Scott Brooks earlier?
You may have. What a legendary coach for the OKC Thunder, though.
Well, it's funny because didn't Dre do that? I think Dre did that in our group chat.
I think we've all probably called him Scott at some point on accident.
But I don't think it had ever entered my brain until Dre said it, and now I can't not say it.
Blaming Dre. Okay, I like it. It's all
I'm
Dre's
definitely
fault.
blaming Dre. I'm definitely blaming Dre. Um, no, but I really have not been able to stop my brain from saying Scott Brooks ever since he said that. Uh, again, though, I think again, I'm not saying that they're going to win the championship, but I do think there has to be some benefit to having Stephen Brooks around a good core of his team. And yes, there are guys missing. There are important guys missing that he's going to have to get to know and integrate and everything. But I think there has to be a benefit to being a guy who has very little knowledge of a Shane Knobloch, of Charlie Bertrand wasn't on this team last year. Of seeing Cole Williams wasn't on this team last year. Seeing them, getting to know them, getting to see some of their strengths and weaknesses that can help him hit the ground running a bit come the spring. And think about it, it's only what, 5 weeks? Is it 5 weeks? 6 weeks away?
Um,
May 8th. So
no, I think it's closer to 8 weeks. But it's 2 full months away, basically, minus 2 days.
Well, but they'll do a
training camp.
Training camp.
Yeah, so somewhere around
there.
So
I think it's something like 6-ish weeks, something like that, before they get together for training camp. So not a huge amount of time. So ultimately, I think I agree with you. If you're Anthony Kelly with the Woods, or anyone that already kind of knows their team, probably doesn't do much of anything for you. But that's the one kind of thing where I was like, okay, it could help them some. Not saying it's going to turn them into a championship caliber team, but especially with a brand new coach, like getting to see your team. I don't know. I thought it might help a little bit, but I guess we will see on that one.
History says otherwise. That's the only reason I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid.
Well, who's the first time coach who stepped in with his team for the first time at the championship?
I think that's irrelevant because Brooksy has coached these teams. Not Chaos, but he's coached in this before. That's not new. The only new is just the personnel.
But I think that's the important part.
Maybe.
We're going to have another tiff today, aren't we?
Look, if the Chaos come out in the PLL regular season and kill it, I'll be the first to say, hey, maybe that has something to do with it. And be like, I was wrong. That's fine. All I'm saying is, I mean, man, the Chrome sure looked good in 23, and then Boston in 24-25.
What's funny too is, didn't Chrome in 23? I mean, weren't they bad?
Yeah, they were, because that was the year before they got Brennan, I believe. Right? Because then the Outlaws came back for 2 seasons, 24-25. This is the 3rd season.
Yeah, they were the worst team in the league in 2023.
Again, different situation. I understand, but
wait, now I gotta see. The Redwoods were the worst. Well, this is like stats. What I really wanted was like standings from that. But presumably, if the Redwoods were the worst offensive team in the championship series, then they were probably the worst team in the thing. And they were second worst in 2024. 2025 was the Whips. They didn't win a game. They were terrible. And they were the 3rd worst team. So, hey, they're getting better. So Carolina's going to be 4th worst next year.
Nice. So by this logic, they'll be first in what, 2029? 2030?
We'll see. Although Although if you look at it, Atlas and Outlaws, I think at this point we would probably say are the favorites to be 1-2 in that order next year, right? At this point, draft still has to happen. Off season will happen. We figure the Water Dogs are going to be significantly better next year.
I said the same thing last year, so maybe.
I'd hope.
My track record, I don't know if you noticed, my track record with predicting PLL teams and how they're going to do is not very good. So I don't know.
To be fair, I'm not trying to make a prediction, especially because, again, there are lots of things. What I was trying to say was, I think it's safe to say that right here, right now, before draft, before training camps, before all of that stuff, Atlas and Outlaws are probably the favorite to be up there again. The Water Dogs, I think we would all think are going to be better than they were last year. With the roster they have, I could see them being a third or fourth. And then the Redwoods and Chaos, fourth and fifth right there. It could easily be that that the Chaos are the fifth ranked team or fourth from the bottom. So that's what I was trying to say. Not trying to make active predictions. Anyway, before we get out of here, man, what we got going on this week?
Just Denver, Syracuse so far. So
that's just one game.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with all that
extra
time? Oh wait, and that's not even this weekend. That's what is
Monday.
it, Tuesday or Thursday? Oh, Monday. Yeah. So what are you gonna do with all that extra weekend?
I haven't decided yet. So we'll hopefully sleep in, but I don't know.
You finally get a week off, and it's not even like there's a ton of lacrosse on this weekend.
I mean, there's a lot of NLL games I'll watch for sure. But that's kind of it.
You know what you got to do.
I'm not complaining. I've had way too many busy weeks. I was doing like the math the other day, and I've been shooting anywhere from like 1 to 4 games a weekend for like a month and a half now. So I'm kind of just like, and realistically, I should have had 4 last weekend, but 1 got canceled. So I still had 3.
You know what you need to do?
Go ice fishing?
Why even put that out there? Why?
Because it's hilarious. It's
so
funny that's like a normal, easy occurrence for you. That's what's funny about it. Like, I can't just be like, I want to go ice fishing. That can't happen. But the fact that you guys can do that is so funny.
Could. Also, I'm not sure that we could because it was 60 degrees today. So
Ooh, nice.
I'm not sure that we could even if we wanted to. But there's got to be some ice fishing up there. Like,
it's not cold enough to do that.
In Colorado,
it was 70 degrees today.
Yeah, today. But I mean, I'm saying,
you want me to look at the weather report for the weekend?
I'm saying you can. There's ice fishing in Colorado.
Here's how. This is how I know it's not possible. We're gonna get snow on Saturday, and the high is 72.
I mean,
how does that make any sense?
Hold on. I'm good. Is there ice fishing in Colorado? Also, I forgot.
I'm sure you can if it gets cold enough, but
yes, there is extensive ice fishing in Colorado, primarily across high altitude reservoirs in the Rocky Mountains and North Park. All right, that is going to do it for this week. Unfortunately, there was several more minutes of the conversation, but Brandon's mic cut out and just stopped recording. Even though we could hear each other, it just didn't get recorded. So I am going to end the episode here. But if you want to keep the conversation going, the best place to do that is the Lax Lifers Club. That's our community, and at its core is a free Discord where you can talk all versions of lacrosse with other lifers who care about the game as much as you do. All of the details are linked in the show notes or in the description if you are watching on YouTube. You can also find us on social media. Brandon is at Hoot Sports Media, and I am at I am Neil Barrett. Wherever you are listening, make sure you are subscribed. And if you have a second to rate or review the show, it genuinely helps us more than you probably realize. So, with all of that being said, apologies once again for the technical difficulties, but we will catch you guys in the comments.